It's the weekend and you have financial questions that need answering. That can only mean one thing. It's time for Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
Welcome, welcome. It's Jill on Money. This is the show that tries to take the mystery out of your financial life. Do you know how we do that? We put the burden on you. That's some nerve, huh? Well, all right, here's how we do it. We ask you to send us your financial, investment, real estate, tax, education, even career questions. Just go to our website, go to jillonmoney.com, and you click the Contact Us button. And then a form will appear, and all you need to do is to complete that form. Tell us as much as you can. And at the end, don't forget to let us know if you would be willing to come on the program with us, because it's so much more fun when we hear your voices. You can tell that, can't you? I know. All right, let's start the show with Nicole, who is on the line from Colorado. Hi, Nicole. What brings you to our airwaves today?
Well, our finances went a little bit off the rails a few years ago when we agreed to buy an income property with my in-laws. We just didn't really have the cash flow for it, even though it seemed maybe like a good idea. And so we're getting back on track, and we did that by actually moving in with them and putting...
Wait a minute. I want to go back in time.
Okay.
So when you bought that rental property, did you already own a home, or were you renting just yourselves?
No, we've owned a home. It's been almost 20 years now, so we owned our own house, and then the house next to my in-laws became available to buy, and it just seemed maybe like a good idea.
And when did you do that?
That was 5 years ago.
Okay. And what happened with that house?
It's currently rented. It just, it was old. It needed a lot of work, asbestos and all those things that pop up. It just took a while, and we really just didn't have like the savings and the cash flow for the timeline. And originally I thought it was going to be a buy and flip, so we'd get paid back quickly. And instead it has become something we've held on to as a group, and it's a rental property. So
okay, how much is it worth right now, the rental property?
$530.
Is there a mortgage on it?
Yes, $170.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And it's split 50-50, you guys with the in-laws?
Yes.
Okay. And it's rented now. How much do you receive in rent? Total, not divided by two.
Well, we rent it for about $2,300 a month. We really only cash flow about $8,000 a year, which is not a ton, especially divided by two. So it wasn't paying us back quickly.
What did you pay for it 5 years ago?
$220.
Do you still own your home that you were talking about?
Yes. So we
How
still
much is
own
that
it.
worth?
That is worth about $600,000.
Mortgage?
$128.
You got a lot of equity in these properties. Okay. But why move in with the in-laws? Like, what happened here?
Well, because I just didn't like all the debt we had. It was freaking me out, and I wanted to pay it off. So we moved in with them and put our primary residence up for rent. And then so that money that we made in rent could go towards paying off credit cards, car loans, all that stuff. And so we've done that. We don't have any consumer debt. We do still have a HELOC. And we still have about 7 months of the renters in our old house, that income coming in. And I'm just trying to figure out, while we have that cushion, if I should put it towards the HELOC, or if we should boost up some of our other accounts, retirement or 529s or...
Got it. And the HELOC is how much right now? What's outstanding on that home equity line of credit?
It's $67,000, and it's at 3.71, but that's variable.
The $128,000 mortgage, what's the rate on that one?
2.875.
Ooh, is that a 30-year?
Yes.
Good. The rental income from your own home that you're going to receive for 7 more months, that is how much?
$2,400.
But you said you paid off a bunch of other stuff. So there was credit card debt, there was other stuff. Where did that all come from? Like, why? What was the source of that? Did you take a step back? Did someone lose a job? What happened?
So my husband did a lot of the work on the rental house and ended up not working as much. So his income went down. And then we didn't take out the HELOC originally. We were just putting stuff on credit cards because we thought we would flip and sell the house and it would just be quick. And then once we realized, okay, that wasn't going to happen, then we got the HELOC. But we still, I don't know how we got so underwater there.
It's funny though, like, Rick, isn't it weird how things like that, it's like it just sort of creeps up on you? So that's a good lesson that we need to like be a little bit more thoughtful about that. So do you work?
Yes.
How much do you make?
I make $95,000.
Okay. So now is your husband back to working more after his income was reduced?
Yes. So he makes about $60,000.
And you have 2 kids, you said?
Yes.
How old are they?
They're 13 and almost 10.
How's the cash flow? I mean, it's hard because you have this rental money coming in, but
Right.
Presumably on this $155,000 a year, do you think that everything would kind of be okay in like paying your mortgage and doing that? Like, how do you feel about this?
When we get back to, yeah, I think it's the HELOC that freaks me out a little because, right now they're only asking us to pay interest only. And so the balance just sits there and doesn't budge a whole lot. Do have an emergency fund, which we didn't used to have.
How much in there?
We've got $53,000 cash.
Oh, that's great.
Right now. Yes.
What about retirement plans?
Okay, so I have 118 in a 401k from my work. So I contribute about 8% and my employer matches up to 6%. Some IRAs, around 67,000. And my husband just started with his retirement savings. So he only has 8,000 in a Roth, but we are all set up that it's going to be fully funded this year and going forward.
Okay. And are you using a Roth 401k yourself?
I am not currently, but I believe our company is getting sold, but I believe next year, if that's an option, that's something I would do. Okay.
You've got the 2 homes. You're living with your in-laws. I mean, is that okay? Just tell us the truth. They're not listening.
It's going pretty well. Yes.
It is.
Yes.
So did you have ground rules going in?
We didn't really have too many. Luckily, there's plenty of space here. We've got separate living rooms. Obviously, we share a kitchen, but...
Do you have meals together? Like, is dinner all of you?
Sometimes. They both work a lot.
Oh, that's good.
So, yeah, we're not really stepping on each other.
All right, good.
Much.
And your kids must love it.
Yes, it's been good.
That's awesome. We'll get back to Nicole's question in just a minute. If you would like to figure out what you should do next, maybe with rental property, maybe with other things going on in your life, just go to JillOnMoney.com. That's the website, and it's where everything lives. Just bookmark it, and then you can always come back to it later. We'll be right back.
Back to Jill on Money, where Jill Schlesinger helps you take the mystery out of your finances.
You're back. It's Jill on Money, and we are here trying to help you make the next best financial decision for you and maybe for your family. We are happy to be here for you. Mark and I are both certified financial planners. It kind of means that we have a big picture view of financial stuff, and we try to weave that in with your real life because obviously all the numbers are great, but we have to actually contend with the fact that you're human beings with emotions and you've got things you want to do, and we try to make it work for you. So if you've got a question, all you need to do is go to jillonmoney.com and you can click the Contact Us button. While you're there, you'll see we've got all kinds of content that lives on that website. So we have other programs. We have 2 podcasts. One is called Jill on Money. One is called Eye on Money. We have a blog. So I write a bunch of stuff. I have a Tribune column. It usually goes in through the blog. And we've got resources that are there for you. And if you've got ideas for great resources that we should be considering, we'd love it if you could let us know. We really would. Because I think it's a community that we're building here, and we really want to work with each other to make our lives a little bit easier. So you can check everything out. Again, it's jillonmoney.com. That's where it all lives. Okay, now we're going back to talk to Nicole. She is on the line from Colorado. And, we talked about what was going on. This is a young couple with rental property. And I couldn't quite get, why is it, why do you have this property in the first place? That was kind of the critical issue that I was contending with. So anyway, I thought it would be interesting for you guys to hear just what lies behind Nicole's rental property. Okay, here's Nicole. How come we can't just sell the rental property at this point and flip it?
They love it. They're just sort of sentimentally attached to it. I do think they picture perhaps in the future wanting it as either a place where a caregiver for them could live, or perhaps, they still have parents that are elderly too.
How old are you? You're so young.
I'm 44.
Husband?
He's 45.
And they have parents that are still living?
I know, yeah. Well, my mother-in-law's partner is only 10 years older than me, but she's 60. My mother-in-law is 68, and her partner is 50. She's 58, something like that. Anyway, but yes, they have...
You got the gay moms as the in-laws?
Yes, I do.
Shut up. I love this call so much. Mark, this is like the best call so far. I mean, first of all, I have to sort of say that there's a part of me that thinks it's horrifying because you have now not 1 but 2 mother-in-laws. I crack myself up.
They're great. They balance each other out well.
How financially secure are they?
They're pretty good. They also have another rental property. So
well, why don't they buy you out? Why do you have to be on the hook for this crap?
They already, I don't know. I sort of look at it with my husband having very few, a small retirement account. I look at this rental house eventually as his sort of retirement plan. He's their only kid. The time and money he put into that.
Yeah, but he could get that money out right now.
I know. I would love that. I'm sort of
all right. Let's keep talking about this.
Okay.
All right. I want this on the front burner. Okay.
Okay.
So, first of all, I can't believe you buried the lead on this. That I've got two mothers-in-laws. Okay. So right now we have a HELOC at 3.7. We have you can't refi your own home because the rate on that loan is so cheap. So first questions first, with this extra $2,400 a month that's coming in or whatever it is, I'm sure there's some expenses also, but what's the best use of that? There's 3 choices as I see it. It's retirement, right? It's home equity line of credit pay down, and it's college-ish. Maybe you have some college funds, or is that?
I do, yeah. We've got 529s for each kid. They both have about $30,000 in them. Up until recently, we sort of front loaded them. We weren't funding them. Now we're back to just throwing $100 a month in there, which is not much for each.
All right, Mark, what should we do with the extra money from the rental for the next 7 months?
Well, I feel like just based on what she said, I think she really wants to get rid of the home equity line. It'll really ease her mind from what I've heard.
Nicole,
so
do you
far.
feel that way? Do you feel
I do.
You're like, please tell me to pay it down. Right?
I feel great about getting rid of all that other debt, and the HELOC stresses me out a little bit.
Okay. And also it is, as you said, variable. So I can get aboard with that. So you take your $2,400 and you just kill off the home equity line of credit, and little by little. Of course, the bigger jump would be if you allowed the moms to pay you out of this property and get you off this. Are you both on the note? Are you both on this mortgage, all of you?
We have a LLC, so guess technically, I don't know how that works.
Mark, can you help me? What do you think about selling the rental?
Well, I would totally do it. This is the problem when you have multiple partners and they're not on the same page.
I know. Well, it doesn't sound like they're in such different page. It's almost easier because he is the only child, right?
Yes.
So
How does he feel about parting with it?
Oh yeah, how does he feel? That's a great question.
I think now that he put so much time and effort into it,
Oh,
that
now he wants
house
to see
is
it
sort of
through.
his. Oh yeah, totally. Now that's his baby, and he doesn't want to sell it off to.
All right. Well, then I'm screwed. I am screwed, right? Because
Me too.
because now, unfortunately, all the money that's in there is being well, I shouldn't say it's being wasted, but like this could give you, if we proved to him, well, honey, you know what? If we had that $180,000 of equity out of that house, well, even let's call it 150 after tax or whatever. If we had $150,000 out of that house right now, we could pay down the home equity line of credit in one fell swoop. We could both be maxing out our retirement accounts, and we could put a chunk of money into the 529 plans and be done. In a weird way, like even though he's thinking of it as like, oh, it's retirement, or it's like it's an annuity, it's my pension. I feel like you're putting more pressure on yourselves holding on to this property. So I would at least want you guys to have a conversation about, well, what's the use case for selling the property, and what would we be using those proceeds to do? Would that in fact be a smarter thing, a smarter way for us to manage our financial lives?
I think maybe I can put that bug in their ear, and if I focus it more on funding the 529s, like this is for the grandkids.
Yes.
College plans, maybe we can focus on that.
Because ultimately what we'd like you to do, I would think that you want to pay down the home equity line of credit, number one. Maybe make sure that you have your retirement plans fully funded, so that for you is going to be that you can put in your $20,500 a year. He fully funds his Roth, and you could, in fact, I think you could probably get a bunch of money in that 529 plan, right? Because if you look at it, if you had another, say, let's say we pay off the line of credit, which is 67, so 70, and I'm just doing some quick math. I mean, wouldn't it be great? You could probably get those 529 plans. You have 30 grand each. You could probably have 70 each.
That'd be
great.
Just
by selling. And you're not selling. It's like you're basically saying to moms, this was a great idea. We love it. We need our cash flow in a different way right now. We want to fully fund kids' college. We want to take care of our own retirement. And yeah, your husband, let's just call him Joe. Joe would be happy to take care of this property. He has every intention of helping you manage it. But for right now, we need the money out of it. All right. If you have a family matter that is impinging on your financial future, boy, we'd love to hear from you. Those are the most interesting questions, aren't they? We're all voyeurs, admit it. All right, so give us a holler. Just go to JillOnMoney.com, click the Contact Us button. We'll get your note, and there's a little box that says, would you be willing to come on the show? You should check yes. Okay, we'll be right back.
Do I invest here? Should I put my money there? Jill Schlesinger can help you. Back to Jill on Money.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. This is the show that tries to help you make the next best decision for you, for your family, whatever. We do that by answering your questions. You can go to JillOnMoney.com and click the Contact Us button. Right now, we are going to have a chat with Caitlin. Caitlin is on the line from New Jersey.
So I have a couple questions about our retirement planning now. Very recently married, so I want to make sure that we're on the right track. And then a question about a expected big change in our financial picture in a couple years' time.
All right. So how old are you, Caitlin?
I'm 26, almost 27. Married a couple months ago to my high school sweetheart.
Really?
Yeah, we've been together for 11 years since we were 14.
Oh my gosh. Did you grow up in New Jersey also?
Yeah, I grew up in New Jersey, lived kind of close to each other and started dating when we were 14.
How old is your sweetheart? Also 26, going on 27?
Exactly, same age.
What's going on now? Do you live in New Jersey? Do you own? Do you rent?
So his parents gave us a really nice setup. I have to give it to them. Partially as an investment property, they decided to purchase a co-op in kind of an up-and-coming town. Mm-hmm. And the deal with them is we pay for the monthly HOA fees and expenses. So we pay a whole $900 a month.
Ooh, how big a place is this?
It's a 1-bedroom, but it's larger than most rentals. So I'd say it's probably about 800 square feet.
Nice. That's great, though. And you're both working?
We're both working. I'm an engineer. I pull in around $110,000 a year. Mm-hmm. My husband has a finance degree, and yet I'm the finance person in the household. So
it happens.
It always makes me laugh. Ended up deciding he didn't want to work a desk job, and he is working with his father. So he's self-employed, and they do general contracting. Oh,
how much does he make from that?
So currently he's around 40,000. You know, it kind of comes and goes, and that's part of my question looking forward is he will be taking over the business in a couple of years and making much, much more money.
When you say much, much more, do you have any idea about the quantification of that?
Yeah, so what we've been talking about is, eventually he'll be making hopefully at least what his dad does, which is somewhere around 200 to 250. When he takes it over, we'll probably have his dad on as kind of like a consultant for a little bit. Mm-hmm. Definitely want to make sure he has his feet under him and he isn't going to drive the thing into the ground.
I love the vote of confidence there. What do you think, Mark? Luckily, we'll see if he drives it into the ground, but
I don't think he will.
All right.
I just want to make sure that he has it all, he has a good handle on it.
Makes sense.
So I kind of am assuming that when he takes it over, paying his dad some money, he'll probably be making around $140,000. But
so that when you think let's just look at the future. Are we talking about like 2, 3, 5 years from now? Give us the kind of the trajectory that you see. So let's go to 2023. What do you think?
It'd probably jump up to like 65.
Mm-hmm.
And
now,
at that point, he'll take over.
I see. In 2024. Okay. And then it's like 140, say for 2024, 25. And then in 26, we're going to say 200 to 250.
Yeah.
Okay. I gotcha. Great. Fantastic. Does your father-in-law, does he have a retirement plan? Is it just the two of them? Is this some big, huge company? What's the deal?
No, it's just the two of them. They currently don't have any employees, really. I think grand scheme, big plan is later on down the line, my husband would like to have employees. His dad still does a lot of the manual labor, and I don't think my husband wants to be doing that when he's, 55, 60.
Yeah, it looks kind of hard, especially when you see it close up, right, with your dad. So we get all the benefits come through your job, right?
Yes.
Okay. What's the game plan with this co-op? Is it that you stay in this for the near future? What's the hope in the next few years?
We'll stay here until we buy a house. Super high cost of living area. So, even a starter house around here is probably around $500,000. So yeah, we'll stay here until we have a good chunk of money saved up for a down payment.
Although you could get a fixer-upper because you actually have a contractor in your midst.
Yeah, the hard part is getting him to do that work when he gets home from actual work.
I like that. Tell us a little bit about the money that you have saved and how much you're contributing to your retirement account.
We both max out our Roth Iras. I started out my Roth IRA when I was in college. I had a couple extra grand lying around, decided to throw it at that. My husband, on the other hand, just started his at my insistence. So in our Roth IRAs together, we have about $33,000, and we'll probably max that out every year until we hit the income limit.
Okay, great.
I have a really great 401k plan at work. So I put 8% of my salary into a traditional 401k, and we recently got a Roth option. So I put 5% of my salary into that. My company match is great. They put 50% of the first 8%, so 4% basically of my salary. But we also get a 7% they call it a discretionary contribution every year. So they give me 11% of my salary pretty much
Holy
every year.
crap. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's really awesome. So my 401k balance is about $70,000 now. I've been working for 3 years.
Great. Fantastic. What about the emergency reserve fund?
I've been beefing it up. So I'm at about 25,000 emergency fund, and with our monthly expenses being around 4,000, I feel pretty comfortable with that.
Any other investments outside of retirement, the two Roths and your Roth 401k and your traditional 401k, anything else that's out there?
Yeah, we have about 18,000 total in various taxable accounts.
And what about debt? Student loans or credit cards or auto loans, anything like that?
So I do have a car loan. My husband does not. I decided to splurge and get a fun car.
Like what? What'd you get?
I got a Mustang.
You are really a Jersey girl. You're really just playing into the stereotype right now.
It's funny. I don't consider myself to be that stereotypical Jersey, but my husband's a big car guy. He drives a beat up truck for work. So, he really twisted my arm and we decided to get a fun car.
Okay. What's the car loan that's outstanding? How much?
It's about 23,000.
And what is the interest rate on it?
It's like 2%.
Oh, all right. Cheap. Good.
Yeah.
All right. Good. We'll get back to Caitlin in just a second. If you've got a financial question, remember the repository for all of your questions is JillOnMoney.com. That is our website. JillOnMoney.com. Just bookmark it. Then you can get whatever you need when you need it. Okay. We'll be right back.
.401ks, IRAs, refinancing, she covers it all. Back to Jill on Money with Jill Schlesinger.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. Let's get right back to Caitlin. Anything else? No student loans or anything?
No. So my parents were great. They paid 100% for my very, very expensive college education. And when the opportunity arose for me to stay on for another year to get my master's degree, they struck a deal with me and they paid for it all up front, and I paid them back for 50% of it. So I have like 2 more months left to pay them and I'm done.
Hey, I like that. Mark, that's an interesting idea.
Pay for it in advance.
Yeah, like here's the money, go for it, but you're going to pay us a certain amount back. So your parents are in good financial condition, right?
Yeah, I think so. I try and make sure that they're a little bit more conscious about their retirement. They emphasize the education for all of us a lot and got us all through college debt free, which obviously we're all very grateful for, but that does come at an expense.
Yeah, right. That's interesting. But for now, you don't have to worry about taking care of them, right?
No.
And what about your father-in-law? I don't know if your husband's parents are still married, but like everything okay? Like they've been making a lot of money for a while, but do you feel like they're okay? They can take care of themselves?
Yeah, I think everything's okay there. She's a municipal employee, so she has a pretty decent pension, I think.
Oh, that's great.
And has great health insurance, and she'll keep working for a while. So.
All right, that's great. Anything else that I need to know? Did I miss anything else?
We have another little stash of money set aside that we're starting to save up for a house down payment. But, like I said, that house is going to be expensive. So it's definitely a while down the road, but starting to sock some money away towards that every month.
So what is the question that we can help you out with today?
So my first question is that the Roth 401k option recently became available to us in the last year or so, and I'm putting 5% in right now. Do you think I should be going in 100% based on listening to you guys every day? I'm assuming you guys are going to say go all in on the Roth, but wanted to hear that confirmation.
I think yes for right now, especially while your husband is still making, 40 or 50 or 60,000. Like certainly, I think for the next few years, while you're still in a tax bracket that is mostly 22%, I think that we'll have a different decision when he starts making bigger dollars, because you do live in a high tax state, New Jersey, and it may be that perhaps it's worth your while to maybe do some pre-tax. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what the tax laws look like by then. But I think for now, yeah, I would go all Roth all the time. Mark, you agree?
Yep, a Roth, it's a young person's best friend, for sure.
It really is. And I think that you guys are going to end up making more money down the line. So certainly while you're still in this 22% tax bracket, I really, really encourage you to do that. So let's do that. That's easy. Okay, Roth, number one question answered. Next.
So my next question is, with that company match that we get, that's, like I said, a big chunk of my salary. I don't know how that works since it's my first time with the Roth 401k option. So if I have the option to put that either into my pre-tax or, pay the tax and put it into my Roth option, should I also be putting that into the Roth?
Yeah, you should ask your HR department, because some companies, it's very odd. There are some companies that will not match into a Roth. So, and it's a company by company decision. If you have the option, I'd rather all money go into Roth right now, but obviously it's their decision. So we'll wait to see what their rules are in their plan.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that makes sense. More generally, do you think that we're off on the right start here with all of our finances?
Dude, you're killing it. You're killing it. You are putting so much money away. I can't believe you're only 26, 27 years old. You're really, I think, in great position to, save more money. Obviously, what's going to happen here for you guys is that you have to be balancing the amount of money you save in retirement with the amount of money you need for that home down payment fund, or I don't know if you're going to have kids or something, but you're going to need some cash on hand. So I wouldn't get yourself too nutty if at the 3 or 4 years from now you're like, oh no, we make too much money, we can't do Roth contributions. That's okay. You're going to need to build up some cash anyway. And so I think that whether it's kids or house fund or whatever, don't worry about that so much, because we do need you to have money outside of retirement to do the things you want to do.
Yeah, that makes sense. We're definitely having, I have internal struggles trying to figure out how to balance it, because that down payment's going to be huge. We also know we're going to have some fertility costs in the near future, which is obviously very expensive as well.
Yeah, it's like, is any of that covered by your insurance?
I get some coverage. It's all super unclear. It's all very complicated. So we have it's a baby/house fund, and we're going to see what we can get. We're going to freeze some embryos and just see how much it ends up costing and kind of go from there.
Wow. So listen, in the near term, here's what I think I mean, Mark, you might have a different approach to this. How much of the split should be retirement, non-retirement?
How much do you have left over each month on a month-to-month basis, cash flow wise?
So after, putting $1,000 into our Roth, so we max that out each year, and whatever retirement money comes out of my salary and his salary, we have probably about $2,200 a month that kind of is there for us to do whatever we want.
Okay, so let's do that. Free cash flow is $2,200 a month after they kind of tick off a lot of the big spending, saving categories. Of the $2,200, what should happen to it, Mark?
I would keep it accessible based on what you're saying and what's going to be coming up in the future with fertility treatments and a possible house. I would probably just continue saving that money.
Me too. I would go crazy. I would be looking at that and saying, you know what? Let's bank that into the taxable account. So let's call it the down payment /kid /other stuff fund. All right, we'll finish up with Caitlin in just a second. Jill on Money. We'll be right back. You're back. It's Jill on Money. And before we finish out the hour, let's really turn our attention back to Caitlin. I know this has been a fun call. It's really amazing to get young people on the line who want to really get ahead of the game. So let's finish up with Caitlin. Do you ever get bonuses? Not the 7% discretionary retirement contribution, but do you get a lump sum bonus ever?
So I do. It's not huge. I think it's like 10-ish% of my salary.
Well, I mean, that's 10, 12 grand. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, my husband gets a little bit here and there too. Currently, if he sells a job and he signs the contract, he gets a cut of the profits. So I would say maybe for him, every couple months, we get an extra couple grand.
You know what I would do? I would take bonus money and then like that 2,000, 2,200, and I would just start socking it away. You guys will have lived on a lot less money, and you're going to have the opportunity to put a lot of money away. And I would really use those years as the time to accelerate. And, hopefully you're buying a house in 2025, 2026. That's great. And you'll have the money to do it. And we'll see where the market is at the time. But you'll be able to do this. You really will, because you've got money and you're good savers. So I think that, the idea that you're only spending $1,000 a month or $900 a month on your house, on your housing is huge, especially because you live in a high cost area. And if he all of a sudden starts making more money sooner than you expect, that's just going to accelerate the plan. So I think it's great. And listen, when he has this business and it's really his, then let's talk again, because we're going to want to discuss, what kind of retirement plan he's going to put in for himself or for future employees. And, really what does the cash flow look like at that time? We'll have more information then, right? So, but I think you're in great, great shape. I really do. If you, like Caitlin, have questions, just go to JillOnMoney.com, JillOnMoney.com. That is our website, and you can click the Contact Us button. All right, 1 whole hour down, 1 whole hour to go. We'll be right back.
It's the weekend, and that can only mean one thing. You're listening to Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
Welcome, welcome. It's the Jill on Money Show. This is the program that takes the mystery out of your financial life. We do that by encouraging you to go to our website, JillOnMoney.com, and click the Contact Us button. You can ask any question you would like. And if you're not too shy and you want to join us on the air, Mark will arrange to do that. That is what Lisa from Texas did. And Lisa is on the line. We're going to do a little retirement planning. Tell me what we can do for you.
Okay. Well, I had a question about saving for retirement. Hubby and I are both dual income, no kids. We make about $250,000 a year collectively. My question is, our companies do not offer a 401k match. And based on our income, do you still think it's wise that we max out a traditional or both do a Roth 401k? That's one of the first questions. On top of that, do you recommend saving into like a backdoor Roth? Because our goal is to save about 20% of our income annually.
Holy smokes. Good for you guys. How old are you guys?
We're in our mid-30s.
And how much have you saved already? So give us a little bit of a rundown. How much is in your retirement accounts right now?
Collectively, we have about $400,000 between 401ks and brokerage accounts.
Wait, hold on. The retirement part of it, not the brokerage part.
Okay.
So I want to only know retirement first.
Retirement, let's say about $450,000.
Okay. The brokerage, when you said brokerage, are you saying like the non-retirement taxable accounts?
Yes.
How much is in there?
$100,000.
Okay. So $100,000 in brokerage, $450,000 in retirement, and that $450,000 is all pre-tax?
Actually, so I did a conversion in the last year or so. And so about $250,000 of that is Roth.
And $200,000 is traditional.
Yes.
Got it. How about a house? Do you have one of those?
We do have a paid off rental property that is about $300,000 in value. And then our current primary is about 400 and also paid off, which is a decision that we made just because our income varies year over year. So that was a decision that we ended up making to pay those off.
Okay. The rental property that's worth 300, how's the cash flow on that? What is the money that's flowing to you guys annually?
After expenses, it's about $24K a year.
You're going to stick around in the primary? Is that the goal that like, all right, we're in our mid-30s, we love our house, we're going to stick around in that house?
No, we're actually thinking about moving to a newer home. So that will be rented as well. And that should give us about $30K a year after expenses.
Why rent it and not just take it to move into the new home?
Because we don't need to, and we're kind of a fan of buy and hold, but we're open to suggestions.
Tell me about the new home. What are you going to have to spend in the new home?
Only about $275 to $300.
Wait a minute. What do you mean you're moving to a new home that's actually worth less?
Yes, because we'd be moving from a city home to a suburb home and just kind of changing things up a bit, so not needing to really go up.
In buying a new home, this $275, would you do that with borrowed money, or would you do that with just a down payment and a mortgage, or just in cash?
No, we'd probably do it with leveraging this time. So just taking a loan out and putting about 10 to 15, maybe 20% down.
It's a lot of real estate. Mark, what are you thinking about the real estate move?
I'm thinking they like the real estate. I'm guessing maybe one of them works in real estate. I don't know.
I don't know. What's your, you said variable. Is one of you in the industry?
Yes, one of us is in the industry.
Mark, what a nose my man Mark has, huh? How about it? I'm not going to convince you not. You're going to do this, right? You're going to keep them as rental, right? Should I just stop?
That is the goal until we're older and happy and collecting all of our money. Yes.
I mean, like, it's good for me to know that because then I won't waste your time or anyone else's. For everyone else listening, the reason that I feel a little bit squeamish about this is not that I'm anti-rental property, because I'm really not. It's just that it's a lot of money to be tied up in a non-liquid asset. But you know what? Whatever. You're going to build up your liquidity right now. Interestingly, though, I mean, you will have a bunch of earned income. And would you take some money from the brokerage account to make the down payment for the new home, or do you have other money set aside in a cash account?
No, that'll stay there for retirement planning as well. We have another cash account, which will come up to probably about 100. So we'll save it from that. Like you guys said, because we're real estate heavy, wanting to max out 401ks, wanting to continue to put things in the brokerage account, but really curious based on our income if you guys are pro traditional or pro Roth 401ks.
So I'm going to let Mark answer this. So Mark, just remember they're making $250,000 a year. That means their bracket right now, their top income tax bracket is 24%. There is no state income tax in the state of Texas. Roth 401k or traditional 401k for Lisa and her husband in Texas. What do you say, Mark?
All Roth, all day long.
Got it? It's easy as that. And I think that there is no doubt in my mind that that is absolutely the right decision. Now, the interesting thing, though, is that in making that, I'm not saying that you have to convert every single dollar, because I think you're fine now. You can leave the traditional alone. You know, you don't have to convert that. You do need, in addition to maxing out your 401k, is when you make this move, I would much prefer you guys to have a nice low mortgage interest rate and have that stick around and build up your cash and brokerage accounts before you start paying off the mortgage.
Yes.
Because I think liquidity is like your friend. And I think that's going to be important because, again, you have these, they're good assets. I'm not saying they're bad assets. A house is a great asset and it's cash flowing pretty well. But I do think it would be incumbent on you guys to be somewhat safer around, especially if you have variable income, to build up your non-retirement savings as well.
In reference to order of operation, so maxing out the Roth 401k, a backdoor Roth IRA
brokerage.
Okay, 100% brokerage. Okay, thank you.
Brokerage. And especially, like, let's get through the house thing first. also,
Okay.
right? Lisa, do you and your husband have wills?
Yes,
Anything else that's out there kicking around? There's no other debt because you're like anti-debt, right?
that's accurate. So
I
no,
like that.
nothing kicking around this time.
No children. Do you have any pets?
Yes, we'll have to
What
send
do you
you a
have?
photo. We have a schnauzer.
We want a photo. It will go up onto the Furry Fan Club.
Love it. Well, thank you guys so much for your advice because we were doing things a little out of place. So I appreciate the advice with the Roth 401k. And like you said, just build up the liquidity.
Are you ready to talk to me and Mark about what's going on in your financial life? Well, we're ready for you. Just go to JillOnMoney.com, click the Contact Us button, and ask us your question. We will be right back doing more of that.
Back to Jill on Money, where Jill Schlesinger helps you take the mystery out of your finances.
You're back. It's Jill on Money, the program that attempts to take the mystery out of your financial life. So often we hear about people who are trying to figure out whether they should try to do something different today to maybe get a different outcome in the future. And some of this is about, financial independence. You've heard of the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early. And often on this program, we find that it's not really retire early that you want. It's, I want financial independence to have more opportunity, to do the things that I want to do. And that's why I'm very happy that we've got a question about this. This is John from Atlanta. Why did you contact us? What can we do for you?
Well, Jill, I have many questions, and I would love to talk to you all day, but I understand there's a limited amount of time. So I'll give you a couple of the questions that are really on my mind, and maybe we can talk about my situation. I do adhere to the FIRE movement, or I've been following it for a while and pursuing it. And one question I have is, your view on what a safe withdrawal rate is into perpetuity. So if, you wanted to keep your principal, what is an amount that you could withdraw every year and think that that principal would be safe? Another question I have is, we own a small 3-bedroom, 2-bath home that I always intended on converting to a rental. We're kind of getting to that portion of our lives and trying to discern if that's the right thing to do.
Tell us about yourselves, because you say a we. So how old are you, John?
Yeah, I'm 37. I live in Atlanta. I'm married to my wife, who is 33. We have no kids. I work in investment management for commercial real estate, and my wife works in marketing.
All right. So how much you make in this commercial real estate market that's stronger in Atlanta probably than in many other places in the country?
I make $160,000 a year. My wife makes $110,000.
Do you both use retirement plans?
We do. We both have 401ks through work, which we fully fund every year.
How much is in each of your 401ks?
In my 401k, there is $190,000.
Yeah.
And in her 401k, there is $100,000.
Oh, very nice. Good. You guys are pretty stable, like in terms of your income and what you've earned and like the going forward. It's sort of consistent, or is there some big upside or maybe a reduction that's looming?
No, it should be consistent.
Okay. Now, you got that money saved in your 401k. Tell us about other stuff that you have. Let's do general savings, like emergency reserve.
So we have several savings accounts, but we have basically $120,000 set aside in cash.
Is it being earmarked for something?
No, that's probably $60,000 more than we need. We are probably going to purchase some new cars soon, but we probably will spend no more than $20,000 on each car. Some of it's earmarked for that.
Okay. What about other investments besides the 401ks? Do you guys have IRAs, Roth IRAs, or even a brokerage account?
Sure, we have all. So I will start with rollover IRAs from previous employers. I have a rollover IRA with $470,000, and my wife has a rollover IRA, just $20,000.
Okay.
On the Roth side, I have $120,000 in a Roth.
Mm-hmm.
She has $30,000 in a Roth. And then we have 3 general investing accounts that are taxable. Those total $500,000.
Wowie. You guys are good savers.
Yeah, we've been diligent. We try hard and don't spend a lot of money and try to
That's
save.
awesome. How much is your house worth, would you figure?
$450,000.
Okay. And is there a mortgage on it?
There is $190,000 balance, and the rate is 3.375.
What would you do? I'm going backwards on your stuff, but what would you do if you were to convert that to a rental? Where would you live? What would the game plan be?
There's some family things going on where we'd like to be closer to some family. So we may rent for 1 year while testing, sort of renting our existing home for a similar price, right? I think we could get a rental that would cost about the same as our existing mortgage today. But then after that, probably purchase a similar sized home.
What is the goal of converting to the rental? Is to create passive income eventually?
Yeah, that's kind of it. I mean, I think it's good to have that passive income, the tax benefits of rental income as well, and also a little bit if we're pursuing a FIRE and maybe going to retire early. I like diverse cash flow with a rental as opposed to just relying on a safe withdrawal rate from our stock bond investments.
I gotcha. Can we talk a little bit about the FIRE and what it is that is kind of prompting you to consider the FIRE movement and those aspects of the way you bring that into your planning process?
It's appealing simply to alleviate some, the pressure to need to generate substantial income, right? I think getting to a place where we're financially independent sooner rather than later, one, gives me some comfort. Also, there have been people in my family who have passed away, earlier than one might expect. And so I think that there's some desire to have some more time freedom earlier in life rather than, wait until 65 to retire. Now, I think in the interim period, we would certainly pursue some travel, but, you can only travel so much. And I think we would get involved with, working for some nonprofits, some part-time work. So I don't think that we would, never work again.
Right.
But gaining the financial independence where we might not have to ever work again gives me the comfort to pursue some other avenues.
That makes sense. I mean, if you think about it, you're not saying, like, when you say retire early, it's funny because my feeling about this, which is like, what are you going to do? But you're not really talking about retiring early. You're talking about having the freedom to do something slightly different in your life. I think that's really what you're talking about. So when you look at your cash flow right now, what is it that you think you need to live on? Let's presume you don't convert the house to a rental. Let's just say you're going to manage it, you're going to live there. What is it that you guys need to live on in terms of expenses?
So we've consistently lived on $60,000 a year. When I estimate, I like to use $80,000 a year is what we would need. I think that gives some cushion for healthcare costs as well as, other unforeseen circumstances.
Okay. Is there any pension or anything like that looming in your future? Just out of curiosity.
Very, very small one from my employer. It will not be significant.
Okay. And when we talk about your ability to maybe do something different, your next or new endeavor, what is the age that you think you'd like to target to get there?
This may give you a little heartburn, Jill, but 42.
Mark, weigh in on that 42. How does 42 hit you, Mark?
I'm 43.
I knew. I just wanted to have him weigh in on that. So, Mark, do you have any more questions for John in Atlanta about this process and what we can help him out with?
They don't need a lot of money to live on. So that's the good thing that they got going for them.
Mm-hmm.
60 grand is, that's not that far fetched.
Right. They got looks to me like, let's call it $1.5 million, right? Let's say 42 comes along and we have $2 million saved. And it looks to me like if we look at the $2 million, we say half in brokerage slash, let's call it, that's probably right. I was thinking about half in brokerage and then a bunch in the retirement. Your 401ks, are you using Roth or using traditional?
Substantially traditional, very little Roth.
All right, we'll get back to John's question in just a second. Are you looking for financial independence for a next endeavor? Is that something that's important to you? We would love to hear from you. Just go to JillOnMoney.com and click the Contact Us button. And while you're there, why don't you sign up for our free weekly newsletter? It's very easy to do. Mark puts it out every single Friday. It'll come automatically, and you'll have a little required reading for next week's show. We'll be right back.
Do I invest here? Should I put my money there? Jill Schlesinger can help you. Back to Jill on Money.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. We are here answering your financial questions. We'd love to hear from you, so give us a holler. We are on the line right now with John from Atlanta, and we are talking about fire and fine, and now we're going to find out what's on his mind next. I mean, is this enough money? Let's think about this. What would you want to basically, when we talk, and we'll talk about safe withdrawal rate, I have some opinions about this, but so you have 500 grand in your Roth, in your rollovers, right? Then you have 2, 3, another, say it's 800 in pre-tax, 500, and then 150. Mark, can they get to 2 million easily in the next 5 years or not?
How much are they saving every year?
They're saving at least 40. How much are you saving beyond? What are you putting into your brokerage account right now?
$70,000 a year.
Holy smokes. So they're saving basically like 120 grand a year.
Yeah, between 120 and 140. And the extra 20 is we set aside for unknowns like cars or whatever.
Well, I mean, 5 years, I'm sure John knows this, but in 5 years, you're probably looking at around 2.5, if not a little more.
Yeah, let's say 2.5. Let's say he gets to 2.5 million at age 42. Notice how I'm not trying to convince you not to do this at age 42 because I feel like that's not my job right now. Let's see if it's possible first. Okay, so when John talks about a safe withdrawal rate, here's the interesting thing. We talked about this. Didn't we talk about this with Goodman? It's interesting because there's a lot of talk about what's the safe withdrawal rate. And Michael Goodman, who is a friend of the pod, he's a certified financial planner, a CPA. He does not like using withdrawal rate numbers. He really doesn't. And I think that that's just because it makes him feel a little bit queasy because, in a great year, fine. In a rotten year, not so good. And there's a lot of different factors, inflation, et cetera. Because of your $2.5 million, obviously we know, let's presume that half of it would not have been taxed. So we're going to have to, it's not really that you're going to have $2.5 million. You're going to have $2.5 million less the tax due on your retirement accounts. But I'm going to use 2.5 anyway. Mark, what do you think is a safe withdrawal rate that John and his wife could look at least from the brokerage side of it, the money that's already been taxed? Let's forget about the other side. But what do you think is the safe withdrawal rate?
I mean, me personally, I just assume for $1 million, 30,000, so 3%.
That's what I think. I think it's easy. It's like, we hate rules of thumb, but I think it's not a bad one. So, John, here's my question to you. Let's say of the $2.5 million that you would have accumulated in that brokerage account, let's say that, we can apply a 3% to the brokerage account, which gives you your 30 grand a year. You'll probably have more, but let's just say 30 to 40 grand a year. Would you guys be willing to work to make up the difference to get to your 80 grand a year?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely the scenario, right? And I think we would absolutely do that.
The numbers would only get better the longer you work, right? The numbers will get worse if you have a kid and you have to pay a lot more than 60 or 80 grand a year, right? I think that if you really wanted to do this, I understand the passive income question. I think that my concern would be that house has to cash flow. If you're going to turn it into a rental, it has to cash flow incredibly well for you guys to make it work. If you're going to have to buy another place, we have to pull money out of the brokerage account and pay for it. We have to pay for that down payment. And then we don't have the money working for you to create the income. So these things have to kind of move in concert. And if you're looking to get your 80 grand, I think it's fair to say that you could say, all right, you know what, we're going to at least get half of that 80 grand just from our brokerage account, which is fine. And then the other half would have to be some combination of killing it on the rental property and maybe continuing to rent yourselves or getting part-time jobs. Either way is fine. It really is. I think you're kind of on the track to get there. But your two questions about safe withdrawal rate plus the converting a primary residence into a rental, I think they kind of come together in that it really depends on what's going on in 5 years. If you really think that if you want to experiment and you want to convert this house to a rental, if it goes terribly, you could always move back into it. It's nothing wrong with that. Right. Don't be hyper-focused on paying down that mortgage, of course. And I think that what you're going to have to do if you really are serious about making this plan work for you, I think you're going to have to, I would not put any money in Roth IRAs anymore. I'll tell you that much. I would just be looking at my brokerage account and funding that to the best of my ability. If you want to use the retirement plan at work, fine. You're going to end up putting that 40 grand in there. But every extra dollar I would put in the brokerage account if you're really serious about this plan. I would always be a little bit nervous about the 42. It means that, we're talking about another 50 years for you guys. You will spend more of your years not working full-time than working full-time. And I know you say like, oh, well, life expectancy is different and whatever. This is where we are today. And I don't know. I'm a little nervous. You'll be very young to make this decision.
I understand that, and I have the same trepidations. I think, putting the right cushions in place to, support, unforeseen circumstances, just trying to build a plan that gives me the most confidence to do that. And I agree with you that every year that we work longer, I think if we do end up renting this house and wanting to buy another, we'll probably, since we save $120,000 a year, probably work 2 more years to put 50% down on a $500,000 house and things like that. Right. So there's ways to change it, certainly. But, I just want to talk through the plan with you today.
Yeah, I like it. Mark, do you have any other final thoughts before we let John go back to leasing out commercial real estate to the masses?
No, I like it. I'm okay with it. It's not like he just wants to quit and, sit on the couch and put his feet up. They're going to do something, and he's willing to be flexible if he has to.
I do too. I mean, you know how I feel about this. It always makes me a little uptight, but I'm glad that we can talk this through with you. And you sound quite reasonable. And we are very happy that you were contacting us. But of course, keep in touch. As things change, you might want to, sort of revisit the game plan. We'll get back to more of your questions in just a second. If you have a financial question, just go to the website, JillOnMoney.com. All you need to do is click the Contact Us button. While you're there, check out all the great stuff that's on the website. It's so awesome, and we create this content for you guys. Someday, I guess, eventually, I should try to monetize it, but I'm not doing it right now. Anyway, Jill on Money. We'll be right back.
.401ks, IRAs, refinancing, she covers it all. Back to Jill on Money with Jill Schlesinger.
You're back. It's Jill on Money, the show that attempts to take the mystery out of your financial life. Right now, we are talking to Lee from California. It's an age-old question for the program.
I've learned so much, and I've heard you answer a lot of questions about whether to rent or buy, and that's the main question I have today. So I live in California. where things are really expensive. And I grew up in the Midwest where things were not expensive at all. And so I've been happy renting my whole life as an adult, but I'm wondering if I should think about buying something, especially because where I live, things just seem to be getting more expensive every year. And I'm worried that, I might not be able to afford my rent, in the future. I have kind of a special situation too, because my employer has this really nice perk. They'll give me down payment assistance, basically free money towards the down payment. But I only get that if I were to buy a home or a condo. And
Hold on, say more about how much money we talking about? So
it's around $100,000.
What?
Yeah, it's pretty great. You have to pay taxes on it. It's technically a forgivable loan that would be forgiven over about 5 or 6 years. And so, I couldn't sell the place. I couldn't move. Obviously I couldn't switch jobs in that time. But even so, even with those numbers, just when I look at the price and the HOA fees, the numbers are just too big for me. And so I wonder if it's time to just accept that that's the cost of where I live, or if you think, maybe it makes sense to wait a while and see if anything cools off with the market.
First of all, tell us, how much do you earn?
So I earn around $80,000 per year.
Do you have any other debt that's outstanding? Do you have a student loan or credit card or auto loan? Anything else floating around?
No, I've got no debt.
Are you single? Are you partnered?
I'm single at the moment. I'm 36. I don't remember if I said my age.
Do you like where you work? Is this a place where you would want to stay for 6 years or so?
Yeah. It's an education. I can kind of see myself staying here for my whole career.
What's your rent right now? How much are you paying?
Right now, I pay around $1,700 a month for a 1-bedroom.
And are you happy in that place? Are you gonna have to get, is someone gonna boot you out? Do you have to look around, or is that a good deal or a bad deal? What do you think?
It's a good deal. Probably the market rate would be over $2,000. And ideally, if I were to buy a condo or something, I would want an extra bedroom. It'd be nice to have a spare room when guests come by.
How much do you think you'd have to pay for a condo, a 2-bedroom that you'd want to live in for, obviously, this chunk of 6 years?
On a super budget end, there might be something around $450.
Let's not do super budget. So you have to oh yeah, it's great. it's like a disgusting unit, but I can get. So what would you want? What would it cost to be in a place you'd want to live in?
I think probably somewhere between $500 and $550.
All right. So let's say it's $550, and then they give you the $100,000 down payment, or $500, let's say, because that'll be perfect. And you have a $400,000 note. Okay. Now, do you happen to know offhand, if you bought said $500,000 condo, what you think the kind of fees would be associated with that?
I've seen them kind of range anywhere from $300 all the way up to $500 a month.
So we could say $400 a month to be fair, right?
Yeah.
On your $80,000, are you making retirement contributions?
Yeah. So I max out my 403B and a Roth IRA, and still kind of positive cash flow each month, just a little bit.
How much money is in your Roth IRA, and how much is in the 403B right now?
Let me see. I think total in IRA is around 100,000, and total in the 403Bs is around 400,000.
I like it. Mark, this is a tough one. So there is the potential, that rent could rise faster than the cost of the 30-year mortgage.
Yeah, it's also hard for me to walk away from that $100,000 benefit.
Me too. I feel the same way. Lee, okay, let's do a little bit more stuff here. Lee, I don't think house prices are going to drop precipitously. I think that the pace of increases is going to slow down. If you live in a decent area, and that's why I don't want you to buy some crapo unit, I'd want you to buy something you really like. I'm sort of feeling like if you can get a 2-bedroom for $500,000 and the fees are, around $400 or $500 a month, I'm leaning towards maybe trying to bite the bullet and actually buy. If you are a natural saver, I think that you're going to end up doing just fine. I would be much more concerned if you were like, well, I'm the kind of person who's going to spend what I spend and go on my big trips. So this could be like a time when I run up my credit card bill. No. So it sounds to me like you actually are in a position to do it. Does it freak you out when we say that we are sort of leaning towards grabbing that $100,000?
No, I mean, it actually sounds like you're kind of right on the boundary there. And that's kind of where I've felt for a while, because it is, I mean, it's a good chunk of money that I won't put any other way. And it's kind of built into my compensation. And so it's something I do want to take advantage of, but at the same time, it is expensive.
We'll get back to Lee in just a second. Hey, during the break, go to JillOnMoney.com, and all you need to do is bookmark it. That's all we're asking. A little action on your part, bookmarking it. Easy peasy, right? Okay, JillOnMoney.com, and we will be right back. You're back. It's Jill on Money. And before we finish up the program, let's wrap up with Lee. If you can't find it, if all of a sudden you're like, oh, no, the condo I really want to buy is $700, then that makes it easy for you. But if you can find something at $500 with reasonable fees of $400 or $500 a month, and the only thing you have to do at this point, after saving $500,000 in your retirement already, and you're in your mid-30s, I think you should go for it. I really do. Again, within reason. If you just can't get what you want, then you can say, fine, I'm a renter then. That's great. I don't know. I feel like that $100,000 is a good bunch of money. And, how long have you worked there?
About 4 years.
Let's make you feel good about this. Let's say that you from day one to 6 years from now, those 10 years, right? Let's say that you are underpaid. I don't know by how much, by $20,000 a year? You think you can make $100,000 a year somewhere else?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
Certainly in the industry, yeah.
Okay, so let's say that $20,000, and you say, oh my God, I could have had $200,000 extra, except it would have been taxed, and you live in a high tax state, California. You would have had a little bit more money in your retirement account, but essentially that $100,000 is the equalizer. So the only reason to stay at this school right now is to get that $100,000. Otherwise, I'd say, I'd start looking for a job because I'd like to make that 100 or whatever more. If you like it there, the way to rationalize it is, well, let me take the $100,000. That to me is the whole kit and caboodle. I think that this is a great opportunity. I would do it.
Well, that's really helpful. And also it's really helpful for you to kind of give me the price range too. Because, I have friends and colleagues who say, oh, you should save, get the most house you can.
That's baloney.
I don't want to do that. It feels
No, that's that people do that and they look back in time. It is such a revisionist history kind of moment because people are like, like my dad would say, oh, if I knew now if I knew then what I knew now, I would have bought a much bigger house. I'm like, yeah, because all of those baby boomers would have pushed up the value of your house. But that is not to say that you could actually have afforded it. So we want you to buy something you can afford. Well, thanks so much for listening. Our music is composed by Joel Goodman. Mark Talercio is our executive producer. And try to lift someone up today. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks for listening.